What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see, I'm in a different location. I'm currently on holiday in Greece, but since the weather is kind of terrible, it's been raining all morning, I figured why not record this video to showcase some tips and tricks that I have for you for the Osmo Action 5 Pro, the brand new camera that DJI just released. I've been using it for the past couple of weeks, and I think the small things that I have to say could be beneficial for some of you who might want to extract the most out of this great, amazing new camera. So without any further ado, let's get started. First things first, I already posted an in-depth review about this camera on my YouTube channel. I'll link it down below if you're curious, you want to know more about this camera, make sure you watch that. But this video will be all about some little things, little tips and tricks that I have for you on how to maximize the usage and the best footage possible out of the Osmo Action 5 Pro. So starting out first, we have frame rate and resolution. Usually, the rule of thumb is to always use the highest resolution possible. And when it comes to frame rates, it's a little bit more different because it really depends on what you plan to shoot. So for me, I've always shot everything I have with this camera on 4K resolution. Never anything below that because I just want to have the crispiest, best looking footage possible. When it comes to frame rate though, there is a little bit more to say about that. When I fly FPV and I attach the camera to my drone, I tend to shoot in a little bit of a higher frame rate just so I can have more flexibility to slow down the footage if necessary, but that also depends on what I'm shooting. For example, here on this ATV quad guy that was riding on the track and also the motorbike that was jumping around the track, I knew I will have the chance to slow down and really showcase the epicness of what these guys are doing because it's awesome. So I shot everything or most of the shots in 4K 100 frames per second and 4:3 aspect ratio. This is a feature that is available here on the Osmo Action 5 Pro that allows you to shoot 4K in 100 or 120 frames per second if you want to, but it has to be in 4:3 aspect ratio, which is perfect for FPV if you turn off your stabilization and you plan to use gyroflow to stabilize your footage, because this is a requirement for gyroflow to work. It has to be in wide field of view and it has to be in 4:3 aspect ratio, so you can have the gyro data available and use it to stabilize your footage, which is exactly what I did when I shot these guys, and I think the footage turned out pretty awesome, and that's something that I highly encourage you to do if you're flying FPV and you want to take advantage of that super high resolution but also slow-mo video option on the Osmo Action 5 Pro. For the rest of my shots, I switch between 25 and 50 frames per second. This is just the European standard here, and that looks the most natural to the human eye, but feel free to use 30 or 60 frames per second for your own projects. That's just personal preference. But for me, when it comes to action sports, if it's not something that is truly epic that happens and you want to showcase it in slow motion, I don't want to shoot it in higher frame rate. I prefer to stick to a more natural frame rate, such as 25 or 30 frames per second, or even 24. So I can just play it back in real speed. That's what I did with the mountain bike shot, for example. All of the shots were played back in a regular speed. I didn't slow them down. I didn't speed them up. Just regular speed, so I can showcase how fast this guy was on the trails on the way down, which was absolutely insane to watch in person. So it's really up to the project to decide, you know, for you to decide if you want to showcase it in real speed or if you want to slow it down. Like I said, for FPV shots, I turned the stabilization off so I can use gyro flow. It gives me a lot of customization options, a lot of flexibility to use the footage as I want and to stabilize it as I want. But for anything else, I use the built-in Rocksteady stabilization, which works amazingly well for pretty much everything I throw to it. So it's a pretty good stabilization to use for anything you want. Uh, I haven't really used Horizon Steady that much because I don't feel like it fits the footage that I shot that much, maybe on the mountain bike, but it crops a little bit too much and you kind of lose detail when you do that. And I wanted to have more visibility of the handlebars, the hands of the rider as well. So I didn't want to use Horizon Steady with the mounts that I had for this bike. When it comes to ND filters, a really cool thing about this camera is the fact that it uses the same ND filters as the Osmo Action 4. So these are the filters that I have from the Osmo Action 5 for the Osmo Action 4. I'm sorry, they fit perfectly well on the 5 Pro. Now the only thing you need to do to make them fit perfectly is there's a little rubber band around the lens here of the camera. You just need to remove that and you will see that the lens is kind of cut in different ways here. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's not perfectly round. It has these little latches that keep the filter not falling down. So you just press it and it's not magnetic or anything. It just fits perfectly fine on the lens and it stays there. I haven't had any issues with a filter falling down, and I've tried it in so many shaky situations where I was expecting it to fall down, but it didn't. And the filter that the only filter that I used on this camera when shooting with an ND filter on was the ND32. This is just how things were because I was mostly shooting in bright sunny conditions where you have a lot of light, so you need the darkest ND filter available on this camera. So I put this on, and I set up my white balance, I set up my frame rate and shutter speed and my ISO, and I try to always limit my ISO to 100 or 200 maximum in daylight, so I never have any grain or I don't have any jumps between the lower and the higher ISO. I don't want that, and the rest is just you leave it up to the camera. One thing you should know when it comes to filming with this camera underwater is that you don't need any ND filters, you don't need any tweaks on your settings besides automatic white balance. This is very important for this camera because it has a built-in sensor to know when it is underwater, and it's adjusting the white balance accordingly when it knows that it's underwater. It's adding a lot of blue to the tone of the footage, and it makes that underwater footage looks really nice straight out of the box without any tweaks to it, which usually is done with an underwater filter, which you need to apply on the camera. But in this instance, it's just done automatically by the camera. It detects that it's underwater and it adds a lot of blue to your footage, so it creates that dreamy ocean look vibe to your footage straight away. You will see that little switch between the white balance when you're jumping over the water to the underwater. You will see the little switch of the white balance that adds a lot of blue to it, but it happens in less than a second, and then your footage is good to go straight away. And I really love that because it just limits the editing necessity afterwards. You just have a ready-to-use footage straight away. When it comes to the audio, the built-in microphone is that good that you don't really need an external microphone to record audio with. For the majority of the shots, I didn't have to use anything else. You relied on the built-in microphone, which was pretty good, and especially with the jet ski situation where I was just so much wind was blowing in my hair, in my face. I was just sure that I won't be able to use any sound from the camera afterwards. It managed to record usable audio that was actually recording the sound of the engine of the jet ski, and I used that in my video. So it was that good, and the automatic wind reduction feature works pretty good as well. You don't really have to think about it. You just need to record your footage and then you end up with usable audio. However, if you still want to record audio with an external microphone. The DJI Mic 2 that I'm currently using here is something that you can incorporate with the Osmo Action 5 Pro, and it will be, it can connect wirelessly straight away. It detects when the camera is turned on, and it can be used straight away. It records 32-bit float audio that you can use and tweak a lot if you want to edit your projects with that. So it's pretty good. I highly recommend you to check out the DJI Mic 2 if you want to purchase an Action 5 Pro and you want to have an external microphone, just because of that connectivity that works straight out of the box. As soon as you turn on the microphone and you turn on the camera, they connect to each other, they pair, and you're good to go. You can start recording straight away. When it comes to color grading and colors in general, with the Osmo Action 5 Pro, you have 10-bit D-Log M color profile available, and you also have a normal color profile in 10-bit as well. Personally, I always stick to D-Log M just because it gives me that flexibility to add a conversion LUT and then add my creative look on top of that to create a footage that kind of has a little bit more dreamy look to it, a little bit more vibe to it, that is my own flavor. I don't want to have a very realistic type of footage that your eyes are seeing. I want to change the colors a little bit, to play with them, to add some teal and orange a little bit, and to just add my own spice to the footage. And that's something that I personally love to do on all of my cameras, so that's what I do here as well. I highly encourage you to try out D-Log M and check out my own LUT for this camera as well. I don't want to continuously plug it all the time, but it is something that I always use, and I'm just very happy with the results that I'm getting with this LUT. It's a one-click solution and almost doesn't need any tweaking to make your footage look really, really nice and cinematic. So I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out, but that's something that I use myself. If you don't want to color grade your footage, you can still use normal color profile, but just please use the 10-bit option and not the 8-bit option, because it will give you a lot better looking footage and you will like it better in the end. And finally, I want to talk about mounts for this camera, because the majority of the action shots that you saw from the intro of this video have been shot with this bite mount. That is something that I use for a very first time on an action camera. I've never used a bite mount before, but I think this is probably the best accessory that you can get for POV shots. Now, this is just a very natural looking field of view that you can use on your camera. So if you use it like this, obviously this is the part that goes in your mount, and it depends if you want to use it like this and the camera comes around your eyes here. It's very high up and it kind of limits your visibility a little bit. So if that's a problem, depending on what you're shooting, sometimes it's not a problem, but for the most part, you really want to see where you're going, what you're doing. So if you happen to have this issue, just turn it around and you can use it like this. So the camera goes around your chin and it's still a very natural field of view that creates some very nice POV shots that are very realistic and close to what you're actually seeing with your own eyes, as opposed to a forehead mount, which is kind of too high in my opinion, and it's not really ideal with the heavy camera on top of your on your forehead. It kind of dangles and it's not perfectly fine for me. And the chest mount is a little bit too low for my own preference and it's not realistic again. So the bite mount is actually something that I used for the majority of the shots. And also I want to talk about this a little bit, because this is a tripod from DJI which comes with a battery bank integrated. It is a tripod with these little legs that you can set like this, and you have a perfectly straight tripod that you can play, adjust and reposition as many times as you like. And the best thing about this is not only that it folds up and you can use it as a tripod, but also the fact that it has a built-in battery here. Just need to plug the cable and you turn it on, then you can use it as a power bank. So it starts charging your Osmo Action 5 Pro. You will see it here on the screen that it's currently being charged. And from these buttons here, you can start, stop recording, you can change your modes, and you can do all of that with just one of your fingers here. So you don't really have to tweak that many things, and it's just nice to vlog with and keeps your battery topped up at all times. It's already charging and it's 2% more than it was just a minute ago. So this is a very clever and nice accessory that DJI has come out with. I know they're not the first one to come out with an accessory like this, but it is something that is very useful to have for the Osmo Action 5 Pro if you're going to be using it a lot, if you're going to vlog with it a lot, and if you want to have a way to quickly position it on the ground, to use it as a tripod. I did that many times for some of the shots that you saw that are a little bit more static. You just place it on the ground and you're good to go. But that's pretty much it. Those are the accessories that I mostly used for my intro. Very simple things: the bike mount, the ND filters, and this tripod mount with the battery bank. It's just very simple things. The best things that you can do with the camera is just look at it in a creative way, think about creative ways to attach it and to record with, and most importantly, just record epic stuff with it. As you know, the shots that I recorded with this camera are some of my best action shots ever, in my opinion, just because of how action-packed they were, how fast they were, and how dynamic they were. I'm really happy with the shots that I got, and hopefully I was able to share some of that knowledge with you in this video to help you make something epic as well. This is pretty much everything that I have for you guys in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you did by clicking on the like button and subscribe for many more videos like this one. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy from very rainy Greece. I'll catch you very soon in my next one. Take care and goodbye.